Hello, folks. Today we are going to Tarragona, what in Roman times was the provincial capital, where Barcelona further north was a bit more of a backwater. So known as Tarraco to the Romans. We are maybe about 100 kilometers or 60 miles down the coast from Barcelona. Still a major port as it was in Roman times. So on this day, I rode from Comaruga, and there is a bit of a warm-up act on the way here in the Castle El Catia, which has roots going back to the Iron Age, but was another one of these castles along the River Gaia, was particularly significant when that was the border between the Catalan counties and Moorish Spain. Um, as for getting into Tarragona, I always find it a bit complicated. So this is the road I normally take. This is the most trouble-free one because the other ways in and out are fairly busy, sort of main roads. Coming in from the west is problematic because there's a lot of trucks, a lot of main roads, motorway intersections. So you can, of course, take the train right into the center. So I came in and several World Heritage sites here and had a nice little roll around there. And I took in pretty much most of those sites. So Tarragona has its origins also going back to Iberian Spain and sits on a promontory here about sort of 80 meters or so above sea level. And of course, was really built by the Romans in terms of becoming a city on a sort of terrace structure, and there's still remains of the Roman wall, of course, built on in subsequent centuries. And it just really still has the feel of a Roman city. It does remind you a little bit of Rome, and of course, the modern city built on the top, but there's still a lot to see there. Um, Crowning glory up here, the cathedral, which is built on the old Roman Forum, and you can still see where the circus used to be, where they had chariot races going across the middle of the city there. We've got the amphitheatre just outside the walls, one of our World Heritage sites, and the theatre over here. So I think I squeezed in really as much as I could there. And well, I think that's enough for the intro, so we will see much more when we come to the video. Okay, so on the way to Tarragona, here is our warm-up act. This will be the village of El Catia. Starting with the church here, which dates from the late 18th century. This is the Iglesia de San Juan Baptista, and apparently built on an earlier church. So Sunday morning, the bells are ringing. Lovely morning, as you can see. So we'll have a little look around and pop round to the front. And our next site here is the Castel del Catia, which originally was an Iron Age fort, and there is some remains of the old Iberian settlement here as well. But the heyday of this would have been when the river Gaia, which this overlooks, was the border between the Catalan counties and Moorish Spain. Although there is evidence this was a Moorish castle before that point. So the modern structure dates from the 13th and 14th century and is very well preserved here, as you can see. So we can have a little peep around here. This is one of the castles of Baixgaia, the lower reaches of the Gaia River, which we've seen other castles on this defensive line in other videos. And as if by magic, here we are in Tarragona, starting with the old Roman theatre, which over the years, a certain amount of this has been destroyed, but it was kind of rediscovered only really in the 20th century and uncovered and really made into the attraction that it is today. So this is one of our World Heritage sites, and you can see, having a look around there, really get an idea of the structure. So this was very close to the old Roman port. So continuing on our way, here is the railway station, and from here you can ride up the hill towards our next World Heritage site, which is the old Roman amphitheatre, which is located outside of the old city walls. So we can have a nice look round this structure, which also dates, like the theatre we just saw, from the 1st century AD. And that was around the time where it was most well used, but it's had various other uses over the years. Under Valerian, it was a place where Christians were executed by burning, so a bit of brutal history as well. And there was a church built there as well. There's a Visigoth church and another one that was built over the top of it, demolished in 1915. And in 1780 it even became a prison, after which it was abandoned until the 20th century. So let's just roll down here and have a closer look. And a little bit of cosplay going on. This was January when I was down here, so fair play to these guys for being almost naked in their costumes, although it was a nice sunny day. Okay, a little bit more fighting, and now I guess they're off for their lunch. So coming up the hill from here, we can skirt around the city walls here, and then pop into the city proper. So there's corner of the old wall we can see there. So the foundation stones are Roman, and of course what is on top of that is from later eras, from medieval times. But you really do get a feel from it, or for it I should say, in Tarragona. It does really have that Roman feel to it. It's nice how the more modern buildings do make an effort to make them fit in. So we'll go in via this gate, and let's have a look at more of the city's delights. And you can roll around these streets on a bike. I think compared to Barcelona, I think it's much nicer to explore by bike, and there's some really nice colourful buildings down here. Also much less crowded than Barcelona. I mean, I'm always surprised it doesn't attract more tourists. I think that's nice in a way that it isn't really, though, because I think Barcelona these days really feels overwhelmed with tourists, and Tarragona is just a lot more chilled out, and just like a lot nicer, I think, really, to kind of roll around. As we go through a bit of the old wall there, I think that is part of the circus, which we'll see more of later. And then we'll have a look at this old manor house here in what used to be the Jewish quarter of Tarragona. So this is the Cala Garga, which dates from 13th, 14th century, and this is actually fairly well preserved here. So the Jewish community existed here since Roman times until their expulsion after the Reconquista in the late 15th century. And coming into this square, we have the Tower of the Praetorium. So it's on the old Roman structure there. So a lot of history. And there's a museum just down the steps. And you can have a look at the old Roman structure. And you can climb up onto the top as well. So let's have a little look down here. So yeah, as I said, we've got a museum down here, and as you get down, you can see much more of the old Roman basis for this structure. We'll see the Roman floor in a minute, and the tower itself has had a long history as well. There is talk that Emperor Augustus wintered here. And later on it became the royal residence of the kings of Aragon, a barracks, a prison, and after the Civil War, a bit brutal, about 650 people were executed here by firing squad, so a very recent history of brutality. And we'll have a little peep into this church here. I'm so nosy. But it's a nice looking building as well. It's a really nice square here, and a couple of cafes, restaurants. So next we can have a pop down here and see more of the wall, parts of the wall here. So here we go. Yeah, it was only really in the 20th century when I think really they started to take care of the older parts of the city, particularly the Roman parts, to the point now where it's really a fascinating city to wander around, as you can see. As we see coming down to the end of the circus, where in Roman times they used to have chariot races. So that's the end of it there. That's where the chariots used to turn around. And quite a lot of the old stands are also quite well preserved, where the spectators used to sit. So here we can see some of the remains of those spectators' terraces. And you can really follow the line of the circus all the way through the old city. And in fact, this long pedestrianised area here is where it would have run. So this really follows the line of the old racetrack. And dead ahead, we've got the town hall. Again, a very, very lovely building there. I believe that went up in the 19th century, but again, really nicely preserved. Just lovely, lovely red colour there. And we come past another one of the old buildings here. I think I dropped the ball a bit on this one in terms of information. There it is, something there, too small for you to read, unfortunately, but just so much in Tarragona, it's just so hard to kind of squeeze in all the information. So that's my lame excuse there anyway. So as we see the city wall there again, and the gate that takes us out the other side, we'll see more of that later. Yes, there are a lot of information boards and some maps as well, which give you an idea of what the old Roman city looked like and how really the modern city fits on top of that. As you can see, it was terraced going up to the Forum, which is where the modern cathedral now stands. This would have been the very top of the city, and this is a fantastic building, this. So it stands where the old Roman temple would have stood, really the high point of the city, and it's this sort of mix of Romanesque and Gothic with this really lovely rose window, as you can see, and construction began, I believe, in 1154. But it is a beautiful building, and it's made from this local sandstone, which really has this kind of pinky, orangey colour to it. And you will see that if you travel around Catalonia. There are various quarries, and they still quarry stone from there. And we've got figures of the apostles here around the front entrance, but it's a really stunning building. We'll do a good circle around it, and we'll get a look at the clock tower, or the I guess the bell tower actually, and you can hear the bells, so that should have been a bit of a giveaway. Another big rose window here, and we should get a view. So the bell tower is more recent. That went up between 1289 and 1308, but it's really nice just to have you can roll all the way around the cathedral, so let's have a good look around. So a beautiful sunny Sunday, and the sun really lights up these sandstone buildings here, and they really glow in the sun with that really beautiful colour. So there's the old city wall on the right there, so really gives you the idea of how far the old city went within the city walls. A lot of outside of that, which is now built up, would have been agricultural land in Roman and medieval times. Well, they produced a lot of wine back then, and of course they still do today. And there still is, there's still a vast areas of vineyards. Also, of course, a lot of olives these days as well. So still very, very productive land, as it has been for many thousands of years. As I said before, it is just a really nice city to roll around on a bike. A lot of cobbles, obviously you're not going to be sort of ripping around, but yeah, it's a really nice way to see the city, I think. And we can have another look at the cathedral there. As I said, I mean, such a beautiful day, middle of January, and these water fountains do produce water, so fill up your bottles there if need be. So more of these nice narrow streets. So you do get, the Gothic Quarter in Barcelona has similar, but just a lot more crowded. I mean, here they're practically deserted. There is apparently a cat colony here, but none of them wanted to make an appearance today, it seems. There's a very nice cafe which is on the street that leads up to the cathedral, and as you can see, they've got a good array of pastries and other snacks, and just nice little place here. So recommend this one for a stop. So we've got this church here, again on the main drag, slightly more modern. Again, not too much info on that one, I'm afraid. But yeah, we're rolling up the outside of the city walls now, and we'll see that that gate that we saw earlier on, just coming up on the right. And outside the walls on this side, there's this nice little park, which be a nice place to pop up and have a picnic. And then we can get a view of the tower up there at the corner of the wall at that section. And here we've got the remains of an old Roman aqueduct. Apparently they used to get water in from the River Gaia that I mentioned earlier, so this is quite well preserved here. As well as could be expected after thousands of years. So we'll take a roll back down here, and there's this really nice kind of sort of mosaic effect on the walkway down there, and another look there at the corner of the city wall. So yeah, if you've got the time, you can really have a nice sort of wander around in there, but if you come with a bike and you don't have a lock, as I didn't, it's a bit more limited in terms of wandering. And you can get out of the city this way on the N340, although this is, as you can see, quite a busy road, but it's kind of one of the few, really, if you're cycling, that is really doable. You can turn off it here to the left, and I went back pretty much the way I came, back past El Catia, so we can have a second look at that castle from this angle, sort of rolling down the hill. So that will about do it, I think. So thanks for your company, and hope to see you at the next one.